like freaking out, like, where the hell's my money?
You know,
Darius took it.
me out the fact that she wanted to pay that cable bill so bad. I'm like, that is not important.
Surprise! Some people would rather watch cable than cook. They be like, gas, cable. I got a microwave. Not cutting off the cable. But to her point, or whose ever point, I think it would have made more sense for me if the characters were developed a little bit better. Then I would have saw Darius being able to do something like that.
Right.
Because everybody who did something scurvy, I needed to know, well, what kind of person was this that would do something.
Yeah.
But if I had known all along Darius did this and he was that kind of guy, and you know, even though he was doing it to other people, I would have never expected him to do it to you. But when he did do it to you, I would have been like, okay, he just right. I mean, not you.
And how's that part in the book that makes you say, girl, don't you know what's about to come? Don't you? You know how when you're watching something and you're like, I know he's about to do it. She doesn't think he's about to do this.
You know what? That's when we were talking about the whole page 200 thing with him, and he was telling me about it. And when I got to 200, I'm like, I knew this was gonna happen. It wasn't. I was hoping that it wouldn't. Yeah, I'm like, it's coming. It's happening. It's over. No, do not look. Do not show her. We're not saying what. It's just page 200.
Okay.
Get to
Page
it.
200. Lose your mind. Okay, 200.
Right.
That would be what they're talking about. Would be one of the two criticisms that I had about the book. One is that there wasn't enough character development, and I think this could have been 2 books because it was so much. As I'm reading, I'm like, oh my God, another thing is happening. Oh my God, what is going on? And so I think that, I mean, it really could have been, as I was reading it, and I got to a point, I'm like, this could be 2 books because it was just so much stuff going on. And I think that if there had been, like what they're talking about, that character development, it really could have been. I mean, this could have easily been 500 pages.
Now, my question is that you said the second book, is that going to be a continuation of this book?
Well, I'm.
The reason I'm asking that is because when I read this book and I finished it, and at the end, when you know, everybody was happy for it and stuff like that. Sorry, I forgot you didn't read it. But anyway, at the end, I find myself wanting her to go back and address some of the issues. Okay, the Jay issue still hasn't been addressed. The Layla issue still hadn't been addressed. The Karen issue hadn't been addressed. And the Darius issue. And I find myself wanting her to go back and address each one of these characters and find out what the hell, especially Layla. You know, so that's the reason why I was asking, is it going to be a continuation of it? Because in my mind, I see another book coming out where all these different little issues, I want to know how the hell she lost her business. That's one of the things I want to know. You know, how did she lose that first business? You know, how did her and Tiffany become good friends? You know, things like that. So yeah.
I want a whole book on just her and Layla and their whole dysfunctional relationship.
Oh, that would be.
Oh my God!
That sounds like that could just be like.
You know what? Honestly, even though it was dysfunctional, I kind of liked their thing, cause it was. I don't know. It was that sweet and sour.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't personally. I wouldn't want to go through it. You know, agree with him. I don't do. Look, I said stay out my room, and I'm only going to tell you once. You do it again, I don't care who kid you are. Your face will be on the floor. Right. And put that bag back.
And that's the one thing I can say about the because I got with my partner the first time. She had 2 children, and her daughter. I was so excited that I finally came out. I was telling everybody, and she's like, wait a minute. I was like, what? Me and your mama, we together. And she was just like, what? What did you say? What? I mean, it just totally went a different direction. And so, y'all know what I thought was like. It's like, it's not a happy moment for you. And I couldn't stand her son. And so,
dang.
Right.
You know this is being video.
Yeah, they know it. And she know who she is. And so, my daughter, when I came out, my oldest daughter had a problem with her. So we had some conflict, but we were talking about it, and we weren't dealing with it the way that Corey and Layla was dealing with it, because personally I was just like, she needs to smack shit out of those kids. And just tell that woman she needs to get her kids in order, because the way she raising them, she send them out ass backwards. And so that was one of the arguments I had. I said she need to get with those kids. They hell was sitting there for 5 years dealing with these little hellions talking about and being disrespectful. That's just disrespectful. You need to teach your children better than that.
That's why I say their story alone would be like,
Right. That was an exposure right there.
that would be something
Really
I
hard
would
to
have.
tell somebody how to raise their
It's
kids.
very hard.
I know
it's
it
hard
is.
to hear
But at the same
tell you how to
time,
raise your children.
if you're an
too.
intelligent person looking to find your pathway and your truth, and someone gives you some constructive criticism, you're either going to take it to heart and say, hey, wait a minute, let me look at this effectively and see what I need to do. But if you're not that kind of person that's looking for the truth within yourself, then you're going to ignore the truth when it's posed to you. And to me, I feel bad for you, because you're not going to have any
that
real...
famous quote from it's a proverb. You can't handle the truth. You know, that's usually
And I would
very
tell you,
common.
my sister tell you, I'm one of those people. You tell me the truth, I'd be like, I'll fall on the ground. Like, that hurt. That really hurt. But once I think about it, I'm going to come back to my senses like, okay, wait a minute. Let me look at this here. Wow. Well, that's true. So what do I need to do? And that's how I do it. I don't take the truth really well, constructive criticism. But once I stop, I do.
And I have the little thing that you go shh like that.
Okay.
Like, not a
This is always the best part, talking about the money part of it. But Jermaine, did you? I think you were starting talking about.
Yeah. Well,
Jermaine, you were starting talking about a second book,
the
or
second book. Well, because everyone was talking about, detail that they wanted to hear in 30-day notice, and embellishing more on characters and certain situations. And you mentioned that the second book was gonna have some of the detail that was not in this one. So that being the case, the stories that come along with the second book and the fact that it's called Abandoned Property, is it going to really address some of those or some of the situations in the first book, or are they going to be completely different situations?
I'll say that the type of people that they are will be more elaborated on. My hardest part that I'm finding right now, I feel like I'm writing 2 books, but I'm trying to only write one. Trying to see how much I should divulge. What I'm finding myself doing right now is going back and forth, going back to the past for these people, and coming to the present day for these people. So my only problem with that is that I want to make sure that it's cohesive, that you don't get lost somewhere in translation. Like, what is she talking about? Where are we now? That's the hardest part that I'm trying to come up with. But to answer your question, yes, it will be more details about these people and about certain situations so that you can understand more in depth than what was going on in here.
Are you gonna have to have read one to get 2?
I just have to stop right now. This is like deja vu. I just have to announce that I dreamt this whole situation that just happened.
Well,
Okay, go
what
ahead.
was it to me? So,
Right place, right time.
so you're in the right place at the right.
Yes.
You're in the place where you're supposed to be.
Wow.
Getting the feedback you're supposed to get.
Wow.
And somebody just told me that last night.
I love prayer.
Y'all know I'm scared of
If you go back and look at this armor, you see some black on the wall.
So is it gonna be one of those books, because I love books that I can pick up and it's part of a series, but it can also stand alone?
Yep.
Okay. Those are my favorite kind of books.
I'm gonna have to do that because,
This
you
is
know,
Chronicle Part 1.
there are people who, I have to be realistic that there are people who haven't read this book who will read the second book. So it has to be able to stand on its own, or they'll be lost going, what's going on? What is she talking about?
But it'll
So it
make
has-
you want to go back and read the first book, though.
Right.
Some books do
Right.
that. If you don't
Yeah.
do it in order, you'll be like,
You have to go back and
oh,
reference
wait a minute, I gotta go back and read the first book.
Right.
Yeah.
What was
Right.
going on with
it.
Nene?
So do you
Right.
talk more about your sons and your children in the book? Because I know that
It's
you
Corey,
didn't-
not
Right,
Kai.
This is fiction.
It's
right, this is
Corey,
fiction.
But
But you
every
will,
time- do
you will,
yeah.
you will get to see more about Corey's children. She'll go into detail about how the scene, about how she even left, because when it first
Right.
starts, you know that she's left her family.
Right.
Right.
So it'll go into more detail about that, and I think that you guys will find that it's very shocking how things happen. You think how, you know, you kept reading this book and thinking, I can't put it down, or I wonder what's gonna happen next. Well, from beginning to end, it's gonna be like a roller coaster. It really is gonna be a roller coaster. I've started in it, I myself had to go, whew, I'm tired, I'm drained. I love those kind of I'm drained.
Well, you're right there with the
About-
characters.
How long did it take you to write this book, and how comfortable are you now in continuing that journey as far as writing?
I can't give you a specific time frame of how long. I could say I started in 2009 and I finished, I think, June 2011, but I wasn't writing this the whole time.
Okay.
So I can't, say, it took me 2 years, because it really didn't. When I really sat down and said, okay, sit down and finish this. You started it, finish it. I think at some point I kind of might have had a little worry about how it would be perceived with people. And I think the guy was just saying, put it out there, don't worry about how it's perceived. I'm telling you to do it, do it. So I did it.
As in negative perceptions? Like, what was the worry? It's a
The
book.
worry was kind of that people just would not perceive it, like they wouldn't get it. Like people would just not get it. I do a blog for Scribblical Vibes, and I get such good feedback. I don't know where these people come from. I really don't. Every blue moon I might promote the site, but I don't really promote the site that I'm the one who's writing the blog. So all these people, I'm getting like a week at least 200 comments. But then I'll get some comments where somebody will say like, you're a horrible writer. And you're like, okay, But I think for the most part, I was just afraid that people would not get what it was that I was trying to give them. Like they wouldn't pick up what I was putting down, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and when that happens, when people don't get things, it's bad, or I don't like it, or whatever the case may be. So I wanted, my worry was that people really wouldn't get the messages that was behind it, and that they would see it to be me, or to see it to be whomever the other person may be, or, I just was worrying that people wouldn't get it the right way. And I wanted people to get the message and not be so worried about the people who were actually in the book. Is that her, or is that, I just didn't want them to get distracted.
I did.
So you
I mean,
were worried
when I
about the people that you know reading the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much, because anybody else wouldn't know it, but then I too did not want them to not get the book, to not get the messages behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I read it, I seriously thought, I was like, man, Kai's writing her story right through this thing, ain't she? Because actually, in the very beginning of the book, it says this took 3 decades. So I just, was like, okay, so you writing about your fiction fact story. Like part of it is fiction.
I say
part
that
of
it
it's
took
fact.
3 decades for the simple fact of a lot of this stuff came from journals. A lot came from different journals throughout different time periods in my life. Friends' issues, my issues, just hearing other people's stories, my own story. So when I say that it took three generations, because I'm 43 years old, I've been writing for a long time. So, like I said earlier, God gave me, I just realized, like, you have a book. Like, you got this book. Do it.
I wanted to know, I know you said since it's loosely based on your life,